Okay, come. Very briefly.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muchas Museveni. I am the deputy team leader of the NUP Youth Wing, but I am specifically representing our Secretary General, Mr. David Lewis Rubangoya. I want to start by appreciating the conveners of this meeting and for specifically bringing up the topic of peace in these very interesting times. I want to state it from the onset that every regime, such as the one that we are fighting, every dictatorship, and I am glad that I am saying this in the presence of the person from NRM, Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, every dictatorship, such as this one, from the onset seeks to discredit credible opposition to it as people who are out to cause violence and to cause chaos in the country. When you look at the NRA, when they went to the bush in the 1980s, they were called thugs and so many other things. But, well, they stuck to what took them to the bush, and here we are. When NUP came up in the beginning as people power, there was a narrative from the regime and people who supported that we were hooligans, that we are violent people, that we were thugs. Even when we tried, or even when we acted like peaceful people, like reasonable people, like responsible people, the narrative maintained by the regime was that we were violent, was that we were hooligans. There have been several acts of provocation by state security agencies to provoke a violent reaction from us, and indeed from other opposition people, from other opposition supporters. There have been several murders of our supporters. There was the murder of Rita Nabukenya, just here in Nakawa. There was the murder of Dan Cheyune in Nansana. There was the murder of Yasin Kauma in Arua. There was the murder of Hakim Sekamwa in Luwero. All these murders, the regime, first of all, refused to take accountability. It refused to take responsibility for them. And even then, it always turns around and blames the victims. They claim Rita Nabukenya got an accident with that her border collided with another border. They say they don't know who shot Dan Cheyune. They have refused to take responsibility for the death of Yasin Kauma. They have completely refused to say anything about the murder of Hakim Sekamwa in Nuero by a police truck when we were coming back from court in Gulu. So why am I giving that narrative? It is clear to any reasonable person in Uganda that the masterminders of violence are from the ruling government. The Secretary General of NRM is here. She's on record. She said the state will kill your children. She has never apologized for that. We remember the protests of 18th and 19th November after the arrest of our leader, Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. They were largely peaceful. The regime, through the media and all other channels, has come out to paint these protests as riots. There was disproportionate use of force. There was murder of, the regime claims there are 54 people. Independent sources say they were well over 100. When you look at the people who were murdered during these peaceful protests, you're going to find food vendors who were going about their jobs. You're going to find men, lecturers. You're going to find young people, young men. You're going to find boys who had been sent to shops by their parents to buy something, only to meet a bullet as they were going back home. I happened to interact with the parents of two gentlemen who were shot from Nasana during the protests. They described what happened. A military officer literally crawled to the chapati store where they were, stood behind them because he was crawling in a trench, stood behind them, shot them dead. Two young men. when onlookers saw what had happened, they sought to engage him, but he just waved them off. They told him, but you've killed people, and just said, he went, boarded his car, and moved on. I am sorry, I am saying too much, but the picture must be painted as it is, without distorting it, the way the regime has tried and literally succeeded in distorting it. My colleague Harold Kaija has already made an important statement that there can be no peace without justice. What we have in this country is calm, is silence. It's not peace. If there must be peace, especially after the elections that we are going to 7 days from now, the regime and the EC and all other stakeholders must do everything in their power to ensure that we have a credible process. Of course, it has already been tainted by acts of violence from the security forces, but we believe that not all hope is lost. If the regime wants peace after the elections, it must respect the will of the people. That's all I can say.
I thought he said it.
I am sorry. It's sad that we even have to come here and commit. Of course, everyone wants peace, and the National Unity Platform will ensure that we are peaceful, but that does not mean that we are going to look on when the election is stolen, that we are going to look on when injustices are done. We shall be peaceful, but we shall act as the law provides to make sure that we raise our voices and fight injustice whenever it happens. We raise our voices and speak out when the elections are rigged. If you want a peaceful aftermath, you must ensure that the elections are peaceful. That the elections are credible, free and fair. Be that as it may, we commit to peace.
Thank you very much. We have a lot of work to do, not just as we